Yes, my name is Edwin Beche, your host, and also founder and CEO of Helen Super App. Today, I have Anthony Poponi. I'm always trying to mess up. I'm always trying to put like an M in the middle, like Pomponi instead. Anthony is a professional speaker, author, corporate trainer, a moderator, MC, retreat host, team building facilitator.
Yep.
Anthony, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Edward?
Hey, good to see you, my friend. I know, like we spoke about like a few weeks ago. I know you're in Oregon. How is Oregon, man? Is it raining over there? Everything I think of
No,
Oregon.
that's funny. Like everybody asks that, right? So they're like, "Oh, is it rain all the time there?" And I live on the east side of the Cascade Mountain range, and it's desert over here. So I live at 3,500 feet above sea level, and it barely ever rains over here. We get snow in the winter, and we get the occasional rainstorm in the summer, but it's ponderosa pines and manzanita and a lot of really dry weather. So when it rains over here, we're usually pretty excited because it's pretty dusty.
Oh wow, yeah. Because I would think like every time you think about Oregon, we're thinking, oh, it's green, fresh air, some nice tree, and all that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's green and it's fresh air. It's just different types of, it's really funny. Like you can just drive an hour from here and you get over the Cascade Range and it's way wetter, moss growing on the trees, a very damp environment. And just this side of the Cascades, it just changes into desert.
Perfect. Let's do this, Anthony. Are you okay also if people call you Tony? I know Anthony is always people short their name Tony.
Well, I actually prefer to not go by Tony because it's Tony Poponi, and that's a little too much together. Like people have a hard time taking me seriously.
Oh, so they think like, is this the mafia guy? Like,
Yeah, right. Or they start the name game in their head where they're like Tony Poponi banana.
oh,
So it takes away from my professional credibility, which I can
yeah,
take away from that on my own. Just give me some time. We'll do it today.
I see what I see what you mean. So
Yeah.
let's do this, Anthony. Let's give uh let's just give you a preview who's Anthony, right? Let's do like where did Anthony come from? Did Anthony grow up in Ohio? Where did you grow up? Did you have a good childhood? Did you have kind of just give an idea like where you're from?
Well, Edward, this sounds partly like a therapeutic session, and I don't know that you're qualified because I have a whole suite of therapy professionals that try to help me work through my issues. I'm kidding.
Wow.
Well, I was born and raised in New Jersey, and
Hmm.
and I left there in 1990 when I graduated high school, and it was really important for me to leave, and I think that I appreciate people in my life that have given me the opportunity or showed me a way to travel and to
Yeah.
experience that because I think I'm a very different person because I've had the opportunity to get out and explore the world and see the world versus maybe the version of me that would have been me had I been raised in New Jersey. I'd probably still be going by Tony.
Yeah.
So I've lived in a lot of states. I've lived in Georgia and the Caribbean, and I've lived in Florida and Colorado and Hawaii and Oregon, and over time there's a lot of really cool research into like why you live where you live
Mhm.
when you live there and what you should be looking for. Like as a child, you don't necessarily choose that, right? You're born where your family is, your family moves, and you follow because you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
And then, around the time of if you go off to trade school or college or whatever it is for you, or choose your first career. For me, it was choosing college, and I went to Georgia, and
Mhm.
we're national champs in football. And then from there, I think it's been interesting. And as I've gone through this work of happiness, one of the big facets of happiness that's really important and really hard to change is community. Like picking a community that really works for you and really serves you, and you can live out your values, and that you can get something really significant back in return. And I moved to Bend, Oregon, almost 2 years ago now, and I was very, very thoughtful about moving here. Like I had five really significant reasons that we're here, and I think that's one of the big things about community is like if you choose the right one, a lot of things happen for you that can enhance your happiness, right? Your life satisfaction, whatever the definition for happiness is something we can play with today.
Yeah.
So I am, and I'm really happy with this community. 2 years in, I moved here in the middle of the pandemic, and it was still the right thing for me to do. And it's been this kind of really beautiful unfolding of this community, I moved here in September of 2020. And as this community has unfolded for me after the pandemic, I moved here when it was kind of shut down still. Then we were open a little bit, and then Omicron, and then Delta, And so I never experienced the full version of this community. And this summer, finally experiencing that. And I'm like, oh man, I love this place even during a pandemic. And now I love this place even more, And so it was a big decision for me to make, and I'm really happy I did. And I think we'll come to this, I'm sure, at some point today, but that's the active part of happiness. That's the crafting of happiness. That's the pursuit of happiness that we should all be actively engaged in and taking control of.
Perfect. So sorry about that. Coming from Jersey, would this like where Newark, Camden, Trenton?
Actually close to Camden, but it's right across from Philadelphia on the Delaware River. So It's technically South Jersey. So you can detect my southern drawl, I'm sure, from South Jersey. Yeah, and it was interesting moving to New Jersey. I moved from New Jersey to rural Georgia in 1990 at the age of 17. And I had to lose my New Jersey accent really quickly if I was going to live.
Was everyone making fun of you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I worked for a really awesome design build engineering firm, and I remembered distinctly I'm a 17-year-old, right? And I'm working in the back lot of this big engineering firm, and they have all this construction equipment. And this guy pulls up in a Ford Ranger, and it's got you remember the black Ford Rangers with the dark windows, and it had a black camper shell on it, and then it had those black smoke trails on it going down.
Yeah.
And I don't know the guy getting out of the car, but when he steps out of the car, I swear Burt Reynolds from Smokey and the Bandit stepped out, with the hat and the mustache and the blue jean jacket and the blue jean pants, cowboy boots, and a big buckle and a belt buckle. And I walked up to him, and I was just like, I'm the new guy. I'm going to be friendly. I was like, hi, my name's Anthony. Put my hand out. He's like, boy, where the hell are you from? Everybody around here says, hey. And I was like, oh, I'm going to die in this state. People are going to kill me.
But the funny thing is they're laughing at your accent, but also in return, really, you guys sound funny too.
Yes, but did I say that?
No. That's awesome. You mentioned about something about moving in a community, picking a community. A lot of time, people when they're selecting an area, they always look for I guess two things on it. They look at the school system if it's about the kids and all, and they look if it's just a nice neighborhood in terms of either it's not too crowded, not people hanging outside, bunch of car parked outside. Is it what is that should people look into more when you're moving to a community more than that? If just a school and a bad neighborhood or whatever,
Well, yeah, I think with all of the stuff that we talk about with making choices about happiness, it's very personal to us, right? So you can't paint with a very broad brush on these things. So for me, it was really unique attributes that I needed to see in my community. Is it safe? Sure. That was important for me. Now I don't have kids, right? So I wasn't necessarily worried about the school system for me. I wanted access to the outdoors. I wanted walkability. I wanted bikeability. I wanted a community of certain size. The Bend community is around 100,000 people. I wanted certain temperatures. I love to play outside, and I love outdoor activities.
Yeah.
And I was also looking for other attributes as well, things that are important to me is a really cool little downtown. I love downtowns, and the condo that I purchased here is along the Deschutes River. I can walk along the river. I can walk right to downtown along the river. I mean, that is worth money to me. Yeah. It's also, you can call them happiness points if you want. We know that people that live by a water body are happier than people that don't. We know that happier communities overall have a higher degree of bikeability and walkability. So by choosing those things, I'm kind of intentionally shaping my surroundings to allow me to be happier just by the fact of where I am. Now I have to lean into that, right? I can live right by the river and choose to stay inside and watch TV all day, or I can walk by the river. I can take my bike instead of taking my car, and all those are things that add up for me. Now that's different for other people. Some people are, like you said, are there good schools? Well, then what happens when, you're out of school? So, or when your kids are out of school, and a lot of people will move, right? because they don't need to be in that community for their children anymore. And then where do they move when they want to retire? You know, as a child, as you grow up, like, where was your college? Where was your first job? Where are you going to find good mates? You know, as a partner, if that's what you're looking for. Where would you find good job opportunities? Where would you find, and then maybe where would you find a good place to live to raise kids? You know, so it's ongoing, and you know, people in the United States move about 10 times per year. Sorry, not per year.
Not by year, by lifetime. Yeah.
No, lifetime.
Yeah.
Could you imagine moving 10 times per year? 10 times for a lifetime is enough. Like living in boxes and unpacking and packing. It's one of people's least favorite activities, and there's no surprise behind that. So yeah. So but that's a really great, like, choosing community is a very great example of like the intentional actions, the intentional choices that we have in front of us that we can choose to make that can augment our lives and make us happier.
Mm-hmm. Let's do this. And I know Tony, Anthony. Here we go. I'm jumping again on the thing.
I'm going to call you Eddie if you call me Tony.
Here we go. I know you talk about happiness, leadership, communication, workplace culture, and trust. Can you give me an elevator pitch? We just met. We're sitting next to each other in the plane, and I'm like, "Hey, my name is Edward. Anthony." I'm like, "Hey, Anthony, what do you do?"
Well, I say I'm a happiness expert. And
Happiness.
I typically say, "What is that? And how do I be happier?" And I say, "Well, you can't be happy all the time." And then they don't want to talk to me anymore. No, but to answer your question more directly, it's, you know, I travel nationally and happy to travel internationally, but, you know, speaking at conferences and trade associations and different gatherings and events, to talk about what human happiness really is. You know, I think there's a lot of like myths behind happiness, some things that we think are truths that are really false. And then that dovetails into, you know, one of the most significant things that affects our happiness is our work. And our workplaces should be a place for us to find happiness.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of the elements of what we know about kind of the 5 pillars of human happiness that are embedded in work, and there are opportunities available to us in work in the right workplace, right? So, you know, we talked about choosing a community. You should choose your workplace really wisely, you know, because there's a lot of amazing things that can come out of that. And there's a lot of really hard stuff in work, and the hard stuff is okay. You know, one of my talks is called The Hard Parts of Happiness. Mm-hmm. And there's significant things in life that are not easy to navigate. Relationships can be incredibly powerful and positive. Relationships can be incredibly toxic and hard. You know, and those are available to us obviously outside of work, but most of people are struggling in some sense in the workplace. And so, you know, when I talk on stage, I'm saying, listen, let's bring this to your workplace so that we can talk about how to make your teams happier at work. Yeah. And it's not like margaritas and happy hours. That's part of what makes a workplace happier. Some of it is like really leaning into challenging your people and challenging them the right way and building trust. Trust is incredibly important to the human brain. And it changes how we behave in our workplaces. So that's kind of how it transitions.
I know it's like, I'm not sure if it's more like a state of mind kind of thing, but like whenever you're talking about happiness, either like your work environment, also your home, your community, but as you know, like in life experience, right? It's always hard to find both things at the same time, like where you have this company pays well and I'm really happy at this company, right? It's always one. You get one. You either get more money but hate the place, right? Yeah. Or you either get less money but love the place. So like what is the balance there? Is it like more of a mind of state? Exactly how do you solve something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard, you know, it's $1 million question for a lot of people. At some point, we have to make a decision about how much money is enough money, right? And then if you're thinking, I do this job, and I say this all the time, you're a salesperson, right? If you're a salesperson and you're really, really good at sales, what they want to do is they want to promote you up to managing the sales team. Those are 2 entirely different skill sets. You might want to be the manager of the sales team because there's more money involved in that. There's more opportunity for you to move to a different company, whatever it is. If you're really good at sales though, and you're not really good at leadership and managing people, then there's going to be problems, and we have to backfill that leadership. We have to say, listen, you're moving away from the technical skills that were important to you, or the soft skills or the relationship skills that were really important for the one-on-one transactions involved in sales, to managing a group of people. And the person named Aaron Levy says this really well, is like the number one thing you should ask someone when they aspire to a leadership role is, do you want to lead people? Because it's super hard. People are really complex, right? People have our lives, and we are not static beings. It's not like we come into work each day with the same thing, behaving the same way, feeling the same way. We change over time, and we have to honor that. And it's hard, and so at some point, when I think about money, like if you want that managerial role up here, then you have to ask yourself, like, what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up autonomy? If you want another job with another company, are you willing to travel further for that? Are you willing to work nights or weekends? Are you willing to work longer hours? Are you willing to take on more stress? Are you willing to break up your work relationships that you have now? And I think that's one of the most important things that, that we're in this sort of hiring crisis, where people can't find enough employees. And not only on top of that, like people are bouncing around a lot because there's a lot more choice for the employees. And if you have an incredible culture where people like love who they work with and they love their work, and their work is a really good challenge for them and is really fulfilling for them, they don't want to leave that environment for $1 an hour more. Now, that assumes that those people are making enough money to get by, right? So the example I use with money all the time is, that we know from research that at some point, money quits providing us chunks of happiness as we earn more of it, right? Like we don't go up in chunks of happiness, it flatlines, right? And that's different for people that are impoverished. So if you're making minimum wage and someone offers you $3 an hour more, that's really significant for some people, right? That can alter their lifestyle. For the rest of us, I think we have to make a decision at some point of like, if I want to make more money, do I know why I want to make it? And am I sure that that's the thing that's going to improve my life?
And like as you're talking, like my mind was going all over the place. I remember
That's what I do to people.
I love to work for this company. I don't want to mention the company.
No, go ahead. Do it right here.
It's okay. I'm still friendly with some of the people that still work there. And hopefully I worked for a bunch of different companies. So it's not you guys if you think it's you. But the company, I was like, hey, I've been here for 3 years and I have not had a raise, and I'm trying to get a raise. I'm talking to my manager, and he keep looping me. My area director, he keep looping me around. Oh, we'll talk about it. So I decided, you know what, this is it. I got another job. All they did, they offered me $10,000 more. I left, and he started calling my area director, keep calling me back. Hey, come back with it. And I was like, listen, they offered me 10,000 more, and I was like, oh, I can give you that. Come back. And I was like, too late. I already started. So anyway, I guess it's part of. I don't know if it's part of the culture or something. But let's do this. We're gonna loop around to come to leadership and company culture and all that. Let's talk about you being the public speaker, or like trainee, right? Corporate trainer. When you're talking about corporate trainer, are you targeting, of course, corporation? You're not talking about small business, right? So when you're targeting this corporation, you're training the management team how to restructure either their company culture, or how to be like better in the leadership management kind of thing. What exactly do you do with the corporate training?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question, right? I mean, I want to come back to your point for a second, because I think it creates an opportunity for a segue.
Yeah.
You were asking, like, I'd like to talk about a raise. I'd like to talk about a raise. I'd like to talk about a raise. There should be a clear process there, right, for you. And what happened is you were like, I keep asking for this thing. I think I've earned a merit improvement based on my performance here, or if it was promised to you. You didn't feel valued, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's one of the big things that I would work on with an organization like that. So the reason I said it's a really big question is because each company's culture is not cookie cutter. Now, typically, where I am best inserted into cultures is where they're trying to move from like good to great. You know, like they have a pretty good group of people, and like you can feel that there's something more there, and they don't know how to tease it out of their people, right? And you know, and so you know, everybody wants to be valued and heard and respected. Like everybody wants that in their culture. And that's sort of foundational, right? You know, everybody wants to feel safe. You know, that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Then everybody wants to belong, and then being heard, respected, and that, you know, like it moves up this thing. And so I want to play up here,
Mhm.
not down here. Um, and it really depends. You know, like a lot of organizations have a lot of leadership that don't have a lot of leadership background, right? So, and if nothing else, creating some common framework around communication patterns, understanding that everybody can lead and everybody leads in their own different way. And when I say everyone can lead, it doesn't mean everyone should lead a team. It means everybody can lead, because we all have the opportunity to lead the person that's in front of us in the mirror. You know, like that's the person that we have control over that, you know. And if we can understand like what about us is really great, like how we default in the world and how we lead in the world, that's awesome. And then if we can recognize, and we can do this safely because we have a really good trust culture, be like, all right, listen, this is what I'm really good at. Like I'm really good at ideas and strategy and vision and communication. I'm really bad at details and planning and, you know, fact checking and just like all the, you know, that sort of stuff. How do we find other people that can think about those things and complement, like have a leadership team that is complementary to each other, you know, so that, and I can say, listen, this is my idea. Talk to me about why my idea might fail, right? There's a lot in being able to say that in front of a group of people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of honoring like what you're good at, honoring what they're good at, and like teasing that out together. And then that's additive. That's everybody working together to make something better than what it could have been on its own. That takes time, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, there's really good parts of like we all have leadership parts of us that are really great. We all have patterns of like tendencies that we're kind of locked in on that can be sabotage sort of patterns that don't really serve us. And so it really is just this kind of like mix of like where are you and where do you need to go, and let's give you some tools to play with in a group setting, and then let's see what comes out of those things, you know. And so it's organic. A lot of situations, there's a lot of fact finding up front, obviously.
Yeah, but does it always come back to? I feel like it's always come back to yes, the respect can be there, like, but it always come back to money. How much money are you making? So let's take example. There was a company. Oh, this I think the company I read like a while back. I think it's also based out of Washington State. I'm not sure it's Washington State or Oregon.
Okay.
The CEO decided to lower his income from $1 million to 70,000 or something like that, and then bumped everybody to have the minimum of $70,000. So anybody who was making like 35,000, thirty
Right.
thousand, they bumped all over. They bumped everybody to 70,000, right? So now they have been from that. They created. I'm not sure if it's just the company culture, but they created like the turnover is really like nobody's leaving the company, right? So, but on top of that, then the people, because they have been with the company for so long, now they become better at offering customer service, or even if they are sales, because now they've been with the company for a long time. You don't have to keep like, hey, I gotta train new person every few months, new person every few months.
Right.
So should the salary be the top first whenever creating a company culture? Should the salary be top on that, or how do you structure when you talk about like company culture also? How do you structure that? And whenever you're dealing with you're talking about corporate training, whenever you're dealing with a corporation, are you more focusing on training the like management team or like HR department? Is the HR that bring more of the company culture, or the top, like the management kind of thing? I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's you asked several questions in there, and they're all sort of related, right? So you asked me a question about how do you structure compensation.
Yeah.
It's not my area of expertise. I would say that the thing you need to do is make sure that people have a livable wage, right? You
Yeah.
know, and livable wage means a lot of things in a lot of places, right? A lot of countries, it's different. What the CEO did in that situation was bring down, you know, his salary to allow everybody else to make good money. That's a great thing. Um, what I would probably tell you is that the other reason that people are staying at that company is not just based on compensation, right? It's because they've done other things to build a culture that people don't want to leave, right? That there's work relationships there that are important, that there's job duties that are important, that they feel through that CEO's action with compensation, that they feel cared for as a human being. So I'd want to look at more of what they're doing and then kind of work backwards to understand how that's affecting their retention. And company culture, a culture that retains people is not just about money. At some point, somebody's going to be like, yeah, I'm making $1 million a year at this company, but I hate it. And I'm willing to make less money, or I'm, whatever that would be. And so there's something going on there that's deeper than that. Now, who hires me in these situations? It can be a CEO. And, that you said small businesses probably don't hire me before. Just for technical clarification, in the United States, we consider anything under 250 employees a small business.
Yeah.
To me, those are really significant sized businesses. So I think when you say small business, you're like 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
US, we consider 250, which is, crazy. So it really depends. And so it can be, the way that I like to work with groups is it's really nice for me to go in and give a presentation, for an hour or two, make people laugh, have a good time, have them learn something, they have their light bulb moment, something goes off, but then they go back to work. Right. And then whatever they learn from me in that time, it just kind of goes away. And so the preferred relationship I have with these clients is to come in and say, we're going to work through several things over time together. We're going to couple that with one-on-one coaching. And so we can say, listen, let's give you all tools to work together better as a group. And then when we explore those tools, I have a leadership module, a self-sabotage module, a character strengths module. Then we can talk one-on-one in a safe space and say, well, what are you learning about yourself? Where are you still struggling? How can I support you in those things and help them move forward individually? So it can be at all scales within an organization. It really just depends on what they've identified as the challenge. What I always caution people is, don't assume you understand what all your challenges are. Like one of the first things you have to do, and businesses that are trying to go from good to great do this, they're not afraid to ask the hard questions. Like they're not afraid to pass a survey around to their employees and say, what are we doing well for culture? What are we doing really poorly? The guy that didn't give you the raise that tried to hire you back after you left.
Yeah.
Like if there was a survey that went around and you could have said, hi, I'm Edward. Here's my survey responses. I've been talking to my supervisor now for the last 2 months about my performance review. I don't feel valued, heard, respected. I really don't understand why I'm not having this audience with him. And it's making me think about leaving the company. There should be a clear process on that stuff so that everybody knows what's going on. And there should be really clear feedback loops so that you understand that, like, yeah, there's an annual performance review, but when you have an annual performance review, nothing in that performance review should be a surprise, because you should be talking to your supervisor on regular increments about the things you're doing great, the things you need to work on so that you can get to that performance or that merit increase. And a lot of cultures don't do that. And a lot of cultures, they'll give you, we'll have an annual banquet, right? And Edward gets this award for being the most exceptional employee. It's the only time you hear it, right? And that's just not how the human brain works. We need those little micro moments of trust and recognition and honoring and all those things that can come out of like a really solid trusting culture.
Yeah. I guess I had just a horrible boss, because also a few months later, also he ended up leaving the company too, and I was like, "Dang, you horrible person."
Did he wind up leaving the company, or did the company ask him to leave?
Yeah. So I love the company. The company was really good. It just the management, I guess, was bad.
And it's the hardest part, Edward. Like it's the number one reason people leave their jobs is because of their supervisors or their work colleagues, And so we can't ignore it, and especially in this realm of like when it's so hard to find a new employee, the last thing you want to be doing is hiring a new employee because another one left and another one left and another one left. Now you have 3 holes to fill, versus just like keeping really good people, growing really good people, and then adding on new people to the team that want to work for your team because you've created something that they want to be a part of.
Yeah. I guess one of the thing I was thinking about, like how you're doing, like maybe you're filling out comments to, like, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, that can also kind of bring like retaliation, right? So I'm saying, hey, I'm Edward.
Anthony is not great.
So it's like, hey, my supervisor Anthony is doing it. whatever, but it's like, hey, I'm not being valued or whatever. So now Anthony is the friend to the top, right? So I'm feeling like, ooh, is this gonna backfire?
Sure.
So it's tricky there, kind of.
Oh yeah.
Some, mhm.
Those are real dynamics, right? And so that's a part of like, really good leadership will honor those things. Will honor the fact that yes, I have a friend, a work colleague that is a friend, right? And it's great to have friends at work. It doesn't mean you need to be best friends with everybody at work. I'm not saying that, but you should have some people at work that you really appreciate working with, that you can be really tight with, And but a leader needs to recognize, especially in a situation where they have a compromised position, right? Like where they're like, oh, my best friend is Edward's supervisor. I still have to treat my best friend as a work person, and I have to be thoughtful about that because of my personal relationship with him. I have to hold that person accountable, even more accountable than I would other people, because I can't let it be perceived that I play favorites, right? And that's hard, it happens. It's human nature, right? And that's where this evolution of like, what's highest and best for the company means that I have to treat everybody equitably.
Yeah. So with this presentation that you gave, or the talk or the training you give to corporate,
Mm-hmm.
when you're when you go, so let's say ABC corporate, but it's like, hey Anthony, we need you for this. Are more like a once a day, like a 1 day kind of training, right? It's not like
Yeah.
a whole week. So when you do this, do you also like kind of bring, I know you said there are tools, is this more like a strategic things for people to follow? It's like, hey, when I leave here, at least you guys gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, like, to follow this kind of tools.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's why I was saying, like, I like to have this ongoing relationship with them.
Ongoing.
Like
Yeah.
I can give them something, and then someone, like, I can give a leadership talk and leadership workshop, and we'll figure out everybody's leadership style.
Mhm.
Then something has to be done with that. And either I can be the one to continue that relationship and continue bringing those conversations up, or I give them tools to do that. So typically my workshops come with, here's your follow-on homework, play with this for a while, start to ingrain it in who you are as an individual, and then ingrain it in your team, start using it. What are you going to do the next time you get together to start using this, and making it more a common thing, so that our time together of the 2 hours that we had actually has some legacy to it, has some long-term impact. Um, yeah, and that's where somebody in either HR or leadership or organizational development has to kind of step up and say, good, this is what we started, and let's keep this process going. And sometimes it's easier to have a third party person do that, that can navigate those things.
I saw one of the questions say, what is stress?
What is stress?
Yeah.
That's a good question, right?
Yeah.
So stress is your mind's perception that the resources you have internally are
Mhm.
not significant to meet the external challenge in front of you, right? Oh my gosh, that's too much. I can't do it. That's stressful, right?
Yeah.
And stress has a value, right? Like negative emotions are here to keep us alive, right? Fear about things. The people that were laissez-faire about life and were just like, oh, I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to worry about that. Those people didn't survive. Eventually something killed them, right? The tiger in the tree jumped down and ate them. If they didn't worry, it'd be like, oh, what's that creaking noise in the tree? Oh, it's probably just a branch. And you're like, I should verify that that's a branch just creaking versus a tiger in the tree. Fear has long history in our brain of, from our ancestors. And, so what we have to do is we have to untangle stress. And if we can harness stress, then it's a really good thing. And, if we can understand the messages behind what's going on, right? So our brain worries a lot about physical threats, right? So if we hear that creaking in the tree, and we're like, oh, what's that creaking in the tree? I should worry about that, right? And your brain says, check it out. Okay, it's just a branch. It's okay. It's not a tiger. I'm safe.
Yeah.
When we deal with those things, we deal with our physical safety. We have water, we have food, we have shelter, we have a partner, a mate. Then we can quit worrying about those things, right? Now, when we do that, we can move on, and our brain treats equally social threats. So where do we find social threats? Of course, at work, obviously. Like there's social threats all around us, because we don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. We evolved into groups, and we formed these groups of no bigger than 150 people. We survived because we were in these groups. The groups helped us gather food. The groups helped us protect us from outside threats. The groups helped us raise food together. The groups helped us raise our children together. And being kicked out of the group left outside of the group and the group moved on without you meant that you weren't going to survive, most likely, And so we are hardwired to say, I need to be part of a group, right? That's why we have tribes. That's why we have sort of this divisiveness about who we are and who we are not, on the political spectrum, because we want a sense of belonging to something because we feel safe in those groups. Now, so we feel a lot of stress around social threats.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we can create a situation at work where we create psychological safety for people and we create trust for people and we honor the people in front of us and we have this relationship of trust, which is built over time, little actions and little behaviors at a time, then we can not worry about those things, right? We can say, okay, like I'm safe from the physical stuff. I understand that there's social impacts here of this dynamic at work. And I can choose to make decisions that are the harder decisions to make. And I might even fail. That stress can fall away from those things because that's part of growth, right? That if we continue to do things over and over again that we're only good at, then we're never growing. And so what comes out of this, and there's a term in positive psychology for this called challenge stress. It's the stress we get from a new challenge, right? And so the opportunity is to step into that stress, and it's okay. That's a good type of stress that helps us like build up new skill sets. It doesn't feel good. Building up new skills isn't always easy. I don't have a pen around in front of me, but I do this all the time. Where's my hand? There it is. I write with my right hand, and it's real easy for me to write with my right hand. I'm right-handed. I'm right-handed in sports. I'm right-handed in the things I do. I can write my name really well right-handed, right? It doesn't look good. I mean, I don't have good handwriting by any means. But if I switch over, put the pen in my left hand, and I start writing with my left hand, it looks like a 3-year-old, is trying to write their name because I have not built up this skill. It doesn't feel good to write with my left hand. It doesn't look as good. And my brain is saying, why are you struggling with this? Go back to your right hand, right? But if it's in my left hand and I'm working on this and I'm trying to improve this, that doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. Our brains don't like the discomfort. Our brains are super lazy. But what we're doing there is we're building new neural connections up here. And that gives us the opportunity to grow this skill here of writing with our left hand. It's the same thing at work. When we're doing something new for the first time, that is a new skill and we don't have the abilities to grow there, it can not feel good. And that's okay. Because what's going to happen is we're going to push through that and eventually we're going to get better at those things. And then we are stronger, more resilient, and we have a new skill set.
Yeah.
And leadership should encourage that. Leadership should encourage these micro moments of challenge stress that help grow people. But they have to have a foundation of trust to do that first. Otherwise, people are going to feel weird when they step out of their comfort zone.
Awesome. 2 questions. What makes you excited about life? And I know you talked about like happiness. What are the myths about happiness?
Sure.
I have another 3rd question, but I'll wait for those first.
Well, you asked me to talk about me, and I'm my favorite subject, so here we go. What makes me excited, I think was your first question.
About life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I've crafted a life I'm really happy about, right? I'm still actively working on adjusting things and shifting things always, right? I don't think the human brain does really well with contentment, right? We're always kind of moving towards the next thing. We have to pay attention to when that's a good message from our brain and when that's a message that can detract from happiness. So I look around me and I'm just like really happy with what I've created and what I've crafted. What I'm excited about is, when we start moving up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? My physical needs are met. I have a sense of belonging. I feel great in my community. I feel like the work I do is valuable. I think it brings out something important that I can offer to the world. I start moving further and further up. I quit worrying about me and I'm more worried about the people I can serve. And Viktor Frankl, who was the author of Man's Search for Meaning, was a psychologist or psychiatrist. I don't remember which one. But he came up with this process called logotherapy back in the 50s and 60s, I believe. And one of the quotes that he said that has just really stuck with me for a long time is, I find meaning in my life by helping others find meaning in their lives. And so, I can't do that if I'm worrying about feeding myself, right? And so if I can just create resiliency, financial resiliency for myself, if I can create stability for myself, I can quit worrying about this person, and then I can start taking care of other people. And I think that's the thing that excites me because I feel like that's the ripple effect that I can have on the world. It's like if I can talk to an audience of people, if I can work with a workplace and I create happier, more positive people that really feel better about their lives, then that has an outward ripple effect that affects other people as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm excited about.
Myth.
Yes. I think the big one is that we just really can't be happy all the time. Our brains are not wired for, we have these moments of joy and elation. I can tell you when I'm holding a microphone and I'm making a crowd laugh and I'm making them, like, I don't care if I make them cry because they had some profound experience there and they know something they really need to work on. If I can do that when I really engage with an audience and really get them to think and kind of rattle the cage a little bit, that's my joy, right? That's my elation. That's the 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 for me. But then I step off stage, then I kind of come back to who I was before. So chasing that 10, that's the thing that gets musicians and comedians in trouble all the time, is they feel this ultimate joy of this performance, right? And then they step off stage and they're like, I want that feeling back. Where do I get it? Drugs, right? And that's dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big myths is like, you should recognize where those highs are in your life and how they feel and how great they feel. You should look to extend how often you feel those positive emotions, and you should try to bring back them more frequently, right? Like, and that's the crafting of a career. Like for me, what I want to be doing more often than not is talking to other people, because that's when I'm holding a microphone, joy, being on a podcast. I'd rather talk about happiness than write about happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the big myths. I think we already talked about the myth of money about happiness. And I think one of the other big myths we already talked about is that, that we should just try to have the stress-free life. Now, we shouldn't have a stressful life, like a life full of stress, but a stress-free life also means that you're probably not pushing yourself a little bit. And I think there's real value in continuing to push.
Right. Superpower. If you were to have one superpower for your life, what kind of superpower would you love to have?
Dun, dun, dun. Does it have to be a real? Geez, I don't know. That's a good one. It's really funny that you asked that, because I when I travel, I'm going to Arizona later this year, and I do a lot of work here locally with the Boys and Girls Club, and Boys and Girls Club is my favorite mission, right? That's me not worried about me. That's me doing service for my community, right? And it still feels good for me because I love the mission. Yeah. And I do it when I travel. When I'm going to Arizona, I've reached out to the Boys and Girls Club down there and said, hey, I do this superpower presentation on character strengths, which is a part of positive psychology. So it's funny that you asked that, because we put on masks and we talk about superheroes. So if I could make it into a superpower, I think I would choose humor. I don't know if that's truly a superpower.
To make people happy, laugh, and I guess, right?
Yeah, I think there's some Jedi stuff going on in there too. But I think it'd be pretty amazing to fly. I thought I was Aquaman when I was a kid. I would pretend I was Aquaman in my grandparents' pool. And the dog would bark at me running around the pool, and I would call the dog Aqua Dog.
Yeah.
What's yours? What's your choice for a superpower?
I was gonna say ability to read people's mind.
Oh, so I don't think you want to get inside everybody's minds. I would just be really careful there.
No. I just want to weave people like, hey, it's a bullshit. No, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. See the truth inside of someone, right?
Yeah. So yeah. But Anthony, this is really good. So quick question.
Sure.
How can people find you? And I know, is your book still? I meant to ask too about the focus on the 40. Let's see the book again. What's the name of the book?
Yeah, and this is Head to Toe Happiness, and it's it covers so much of what we talked about today, and it's like self-paced, and people can work through it on their own. It's available on my website. My
can
website
you buy on Amazon too?
It's not on Amazon. I need to get it onto Amazon.
Okay.
But yeah, so they can find me at anthonypoponi.com. That's Poponi, or focus on the 4040 typed out as the website will get you there as well.
And actually, it's easy to find you too. If you Google search just Anthony Poponi, it's gonna populate. Probably you're the first Anthony Poponi anyway, right?
There's only one.
I don't know if you ever tried that, but yeah, it's your first name populate first.
Yeah, don't Google Tony Poponi.
Oh yeah, don't use not Tony. Yeah,
That's
Anthony Miller. Type the whole name, Anthony Poponi. Yeah. What's the name of the website again?
Focus on the 40. So focusonthe40.com or anthonypoponi.com.
Perfect. Perfect. My friend, thank you so much. Let's do this. Do you want to just kind of give a quick summarize again the pitch deck? Like not the pitch deck, the elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch.
Who's Anthony Poponi?
Well, I'm a professional speaker and corporate trainer and founder and author of Focus on the 40. And I want you to be happy, but you've got to be the one to take the reins. I can't do it for you.
Thank you so much, my friend. I know. I didn't want to prolong your time, and I know you got a lot of stuff going on, and I really appreciate for taking the time to just kind of give some value to the headliners. Thank you so much again, man.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm going to go use my superpower of humor in the world today.
I know, right? All right. Thanks again, Anthony.
Thanks, Edward.